the software. Really excited to be here today and excited to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Sherry Boodram. Did I pronounce your
Yes,
name?
perfect.
From CannDelta. Excited to hear everything that Dr. Sherry has to offer. She's extremely well versed not only in the plant but also in the industry. So with that, I'll
Great, thank you, Chris. Thank you everyone for joining our talk, our session right now. Thanks to all of our partners and of course on the Revelry Buyers Club for this amazing event. So we're all here because we are on a journey, right? We want to get to a final destination that's successful, opening our business, and like any journey, we want to be prepared to get there. So what do you do when you're going on a journey? How do you prepare? You're going on a trip, you make sure that you pack your vehicle, that you have snacks, you have food, you have enough cash on you, your car's fueled up. You, of course, know how to get there. You look on a map and make sure that you know what's the fastest route to get there, that there's no traffic or accidents on the way, and that you get there as quickly and safely as possible. So very much like any other journey, we're on this journey on this road and we want to get there quickly, safely as possible. Now the issue is, of course, that we all know is that the road is being built as we're driving on it. That's, of course, very common in any new industry, and with the OCM, not always knowing what they're doing, we're also trying to figure out what we're doing. It's a little bit bumpy. So we want to be as prepared as possible. And that's really what I do. And our company at CannDelta, we help to make this process as easy and painless as we possibly can. That's quickly our team. But just a quick look at a roadmap that we have laid before us. We have many steps. We have stopovers in part of our journey, right? We got the licensing, inspections, approval. We want to open our doors. And then once we are opening our doors, the road continues and we want to continue with our compliance, there are audits, and keeps going, right? We want to make sure that we're successful in our journey. The longer it takes to open your doors, the more that you're missing out on the opportunity. Of course, there are expenses that you got to pay. You got rent that you got to keep maintaining until you open your doors, but you're also missing out on the opportunity of sales, right? And your competitors, those around you, are building their brand and you might be falling behind. So of course you want to get there as quickly as you can. Some of the key challenges in this regulatory maze, of course, are, as you're going through this journey, the documentation, making sure that you have everything that you need in your procedures, your SOPs, all your technical documents, all your plans that you need to submit, and that that the regulator will be looking at on how you're compliantly operating your business, not just for the inspection and getting ready to open your doors, but in the long term. You have to pass your inspection, of course, and there's some activation energy that goes into that, and then maintaining compliance once you do open your doors, right? So during the audit and then after as well. And then once you open your doors, you have your business operations that you need to maintain, finding staff, training them, making sure, of course, you're recruiting the right people that align with your values and that can successfully support you in running a successful business. And selecting your products, your marketing, branding. How do you get people to come to your store? What differentiates you? And we all know that the branding aspect in the cannabis industry is very restrictive. So you have to be somewhat creative in getting people to your store, to your doors, and essentially giving you the opportunity to sell to them. And when you think about how do you want to open your store on opening day, how do you want to do that? Do you want a soft launch? Do you just want something very quiet with the community, or do you want something that's loud and big and getting media to come in? And that all kind of plays into your brand and your vision for your store, and that aligns with your values, right? So there are many ways to do that. You got to think about all this as you're going along in your journey. So quickly about the inspection itself, how do you get there? So we know that there's a pre-inspection step, right? The OMC will come and inspect your store, but before they do that, you need to be ready. So that looks like building out. When you have your license now, you've got to build out your store. You have to make sure that you have your security plans. You have a security integrator that comes in and installs. And very important to remember that, yes, a security integrator can plan out your security for you. But at the same time, they're also, writing the check. They're telling you, okay, you need to buy these particular cameras, and they're recommending it for you. But it's important to also have somebody, or even a third party, vet what they're saying that you need in your store, because oftentimes integrators, they may pick a device that's more expensive than you actually need. So you kind of got to be, careful, of course, where you're spending your dollars. Thinking about your process flow, your product flow, people flow through your store or facility, and making sure that that makes sense and that it's compliant and that it's as logical as possible. The point of sale, of course, making sure you have your POS. And one of the things that's super interesting that you might not think of is that even your registers may need to be bolted down to your counters. We had one of our clients. We do compliance support, helping companies with their licensing, helping companies actually operationalize once they get licensed. We've been operating in New York for 2.5 years in this industry. We've helped over 350 cannabis businesses. 150 of those, or over 150 of those, are retailers. We've done card applications pro bono for free to help them. We've also opened the first retail dispensary store in Manhattan on 420, the first store at Blue Forest Farms. I think the owner is here, woman owned. And, so we've seen this many times. And when she was opening her store, the regulator, the inspector, was like, oh, well, your register is not actually bolted down to your counter. Someone could literally take that and run out of the store. So she actually went down the street, found a construction worker. There was some construction that was going on. And she said, hey, can you guys just come over to my store and actually hammer and nail the register into the counter? And that actually allowed her to open her doors on time on 420. So she was very creative. And that's what you got to do sometimes. With the inspections, when you're actually in the audit, you need to know how to be prepared to answer the questions. It's not always as intuitive because the auditor is thinking of the regulations, and you need to interpret that and make it into something that's practical and compliant. And it's not always intuitive to be able to interpret that. And the regulator, there are many ways that you can comply with the regulation, right? And the regulator and the inspector, when they come in, can try to quiz you on how you're actually complying, right? So you need to kind of be prepared on how you actually do that. And prep yourself for those actual audits. Make sure that you understand how your business is complying, and of course, understanding the regulations. And I used to be a former auditor in controlled substances for a number of years. So if you have any questions about how to best prepare, we can definitely help you with that. And then of course, you get your approval, grand opening. So you have to have your operating plans in place, your energy plans, security plans, your employee handbook. These are all parts that are required for your license and for operating, right? You know that this is part of the application process. But now you also need to make sure that you understand how to actually use them in practice. Your staff knows how to use that in practice. And that when an auditor comes to your facility, that you can demonstrate how you're complying with that, right? And we know that within the first 12 months of opening, the OCM will come and audit your facility, but they may also come after that, right, to ensure ongoing compliance. So that's also a very important part of the journey that you're going to be going on. All right, so now that you've been operationalized, you of course want to be profitable. So thinking about how do you get your brand, your name out there? How do you establish your brand? How are you going to distinguish yourself from your competitors? How do you establish a community? How do you establish brand loyalty? And those are the things that you need to think about to help navigate the restrictive regulations that we have with marketing and branding. And there are many ways that you could do that. Thinking about your setting up your Google My Business. How do you make sure that your SEO will get you ranked at the top so that people see you, getting Google reviews? Those are all things that you need to think about as you're setting up your business. So thinking about long-term business success. And then of course, curating your products so that it is based on your target market, your target demographic, right? the way that your consumer base likes to think, the way that they like to enjoy the experience, and having a curated experience for them. And then I mentioned this a little bit about the hiring and recruiting. A little bit of competing here. Any gray Audis here? No. Okay. There's a lot of towing going on. So, ensuring that your staff aligns with your values was something that I had mentioned. Making sure that you're hiring the right talent. And that is a little bit of an art, right? You want them to align with your values, be able to speak to the products, and ensuring that your recruiting process aligns with that. So you need to also train your staff, make sure that they can follow the regulations as well, ensure that they can get brand loyalty from your customers, understand how to communicate with customers and speak about the product, ensure that there's customer engagement, and build a community. And I think a lot of what makes cannabis companies successful, especially in a landscape where you can't do a lot of advertising and branding, is that you really need to create a community, right? And that's how you get community loyalty. Okay, so I'm going to end here. So again, if you want to talk more about licensing, compliance, setting up your store, inspections, getting you ready for audits, marketing and branding, making sure that you're successful currently and in the long term, please come and speak with us. We're booth M33. I think the table number itself is 413, but we're in the center row here. I'm Sherry Boodram. I'm the CEO and co-founder of CannDelta. We're a woman-owned, minority-owned business. And yeah, we're happy to help you through this process and through this journey, okay? Well, thank you very much.